You're 16, banking a backyard fire with a bag of charcoal that cost about $8 to $10 at the hardware store, and it throws heat till midnight. 20 years later, a man who turns that same black rock into electricity is worth about $1.4 billion. The coal he sells leaves the ground at about $14 a ton. Between the bag in your hands and the billion in his sit 7 levels, a red hard hat, and 30 years underground. This is every level of coal mining in America and what it actually costs to climb. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The Coal Town. You're 16 and the light switch in your kitchen runs, somewhere down the line, to a coal-fired plant. You don't know that yet. What you know is coal smoke off a neighbor's stove, the rumble of a loaded train past the tipple, the man-trip whistle at the change of shift. Your grandfather carried a dinner bucket through a mine portal for 30 years. When money's tight, you walk the gob pile and pick lump coal off the slag by hand. At home, you bank the stove the way he showed you. You lay the kindling, stack the lump coal on top, light it, and wait for the blue flame to die back. The embers glow, you rake them down, and you shut the draft. The house stays warm on about $8 to $10 of fuel. That's heat that came out of the ground, 3 miles from where it was cut. The first night you bank the fire alone, your grandmother doesn't get up to relight it. You stop asking where the heat comes from. Booker T. Washington, freed as a boy, worked a West Virginia coal field and was terrified when his lamp went out and he was lost in a maze of rooms. You hear the same kind of story from the men coming off shift, told for laughs. Heat from the ground. The mine pays better than anything else in the county, and everyone knows it. So when you turn 18, you walk into the company office and put your name down for new miner training. By the time you can sign the papers, you know the word portal before the word paycheck, and you know which job actually pays. The red hat is waiting. Level 2. Level 2. The red hat. Before you touch a single duty, you sit through 40 hours of new miner training, most of it in a classroom, and the rest underground. You learn the law before you learn the work. The Coal Act of 1969 and the Mine Act of 1977, which created MSHA. Then they hand you a red hard hat. It marks you a rookie to every man on the section, and they can read it from across the entry. Your pay starts around about $20 an hour. You change at the bathhouse, draw your cap lamp, and your SCSR self-rescuer, and check both before you go anywhere. You ride the cage to the bottom in the dark, and the bottom is colder than you thought. The fire boss has already walked ahead of the crew, tested the gas and the air, and written it in the book before you ever rode down. You travel to the section, hang brattice cloth to steer the air, and rock dust the ribs before production starts. Methane has no smell. So you stop trusting your nose and watch the detector instead. The first time the roof pops and cracks overhead, you freeze. The man next to you keeps shoveling, so you keep shoveling. Then it's quiet again. You stop flinching when the roof talks. You hang the brattice wrong once, the air short circuits, and you re-hang every foot of it. That self-rescuer on your belt exists because of the Miner Act of 2006, after 12 miners died at Sago in January 2006. After about 108 shifts, or 1 year, you trade the red hat for a black one. A veteran finally calls you by your name instead of red hat. The man running the roof bolter is making real money, and you want his seat. Level 3. Level 3. The roof bolter. This is the level that decides whether you get to keep doing this. You tram the dual boom roof bolter up to the face the continuous miner just cut. The roof up there is fresh, unsupported, and it hasn't decided yet whether it's going to hold. Roof bolting pays about $33.42 an hour, and the money is the polite way of saying it's dangerous. Jeff Fleshman, who mined in Trinidad, Colorado, started as a roof bolter and called it a hazardous job that paid very well. Here's the cycle. The miner pulls back, you set the bolter under the last row of permanent support, and you do not step past it for the rest of the shift. You sound the top with a scaling bar, listening. A solid ring means good rock. A drummy, hollow ring means the top is loose. When it rings hollow, you pull the loose rock down, before it pulls itself down on you. Then, you drill the bolt holes on a 4-foot center pattern, slide in a resin cartridge, run the bolt up, and spin it to mix. You torque each bolt until it bites into solid ground above, and you advance across the entry, row by row. Grit and resin smell hang in the cut, and the drill chatter is the only thing louder than the fans. Where the top is bad, you pin wire mesh up to catch what the bolts miss. The old hands have a name for rock that falls without warning. They call it the Widowmaker. Most of the time, the top is fine. Most of the time is not all of the time. One shift, a slab of draw rock lets go inches from your boot. It lands on bolted ground, because you never worked an inch past the last support. The top holds. Your hands are steady before your heart is. You stop working any place you haven't sounded yourself. After that, the foreman puts you on 2 machines, because a man who respects the roof is a man he can move up. You can run the bolter and the miner now. The continuous miner is the seat that makes the tonnage, and tonnage is the whole game 1 level up. Level 4. Level 4. The continuous miner. Now you run the machine that eats the seam. You work the continuous miner by remote, and the cutting drum spins carbide bits into the coal face. You sump the drum in, shear up and across, and the water sprays knock down the dust and the spark risk at the same time. The cut coal drops onto the shuttle car behind you, which trams it back to the belt. Then you back out, reposition, take the next cut, and hand the place to the bolter. Run that machine in a coal mine, and you make about $32.87 an hour. Run the same skill anywhere else, and the national average drops to about $29.86. The machine you're running costs more than the house you grew up in, and your job is to feed it without burying it or yourself. On a long wall section, it's bigger. A shearer crawls a face about 1,200 feet long under hydraulic supports while the gob caves in behind you. You keep the multi-gas monitor in your sightline the entire shift. The drum is so loud it drowns out the roof. You stop hearing the drum. One cut, the methane reading climbs toward 1.5%. You shut the machine down and back the crew out. Production stops. The boss feels it, and the section goes quiet. And you wait. You restart only when the air clears, and the tonnage comes back. Nobody got hurt, and the number that mattered was the gas, not the coal. Kelly Vecellio started at Colorado's Allen Mine, laying track and blasting, then moved up to running the equipment, same as you. You're the engine of the mine's money now, but the man who decides when you run and when you stop carries a certificate you don't. Level 5. Level 5. The Fire Boss. The certificate is the real gate, and it costs you years, not dollars. To sit the state foreman and fire boss exam in West Virginia, you need 5 years underground, including 18 months on a working section. The exam has sections on mine gases, on fires and explosions, on explosives, and on the instruments you'll live by. You pass it, and now the section is legally yours every shift. Before the crew rides down, you go in alone. You test for methane and oxygen at the face and the returns with an approved detector. You measure the air with an anemometer to make sure enough of it is moving. You check the roof, the ribs, and the ventilation controls. Then you date it, initial it, and write the conditions in the pre-shift examination book. You read the book before you read your own name. Only then do you release the section. Or you don't. When a federal inspector writes a citation, the paperwork lands on your desk first. First-line supervisors average about $81,340 a year. One shift you find a ventilation problem you can't fix. You stop production and pull the whole crew. The tonnage stops, the company loses money, and the section goes home whole. That's the job, the call that costs coal and saves people. Bill Ross, who ran technical services at Massey Energy, once warned his boss that ignoring violations could not go on without the possibility of a serious accident. He was right, and the men who write the book learn to make the call he was warning about. You sign clean, every shift. Above you is the office that runs the whole mine, not just your section. Level 6. Level 6. The Superintendent. Now you run the whole operation, across every shift, and you do most of it from an office above ground. The pay is about $140,000 a year. Every morning you review the overnight exam books and the gas data before anyone cuts a ton. You set the day's faces and the long wall plan. Then allocate the crews and the equipment. You read the mine maps and the ventilation plan the way you once read the roof. Underground you command tens of millions in machinery. On a surface mine it's bigger still. A single dragline runs about $50 million, and a new red hat runs the company about $20 an hour. A 400-ton Caterpillar haul truck moves the overburden, and you sign for all of it. You stop going underground unless something's wrong. The work is the same. Your chair is not. One night, a roof fall buries a section. You reroute the long wall and keep the mine producing by morning. The next week, a federal inspector walks your sections and signs off without a citation. The number you protect hardest never shows up on a balance sheet. It's the count of people who ride back up the cage at the end of the shift. You've run this mine for years, and nobody has died on your watch. There's one chair above yours. You don't sit in it. Level 7. Level 7. The operator. There's a level above the one you reached, and you don't climb into it. You're born to it. You buy it, or you build it. This is the chair where coal stops being rock and becomes capital. The tools here are proxy statements, securities filings, and a boardroom, not a cap lamp and a self-rescuer. You build or inherit the mines. You consolidate or take the company public. You pull value out as the owner. And some, like Jim Justice, sell and walk. He let go of his West Virginia mines for about $450 million in 2009. Joe Kraft is president and chief executive of Alliance Resource Partners, worth between about $1.4 billion and $1.7 billion. The coal his company sells can leave the ground at about $14 a ton. About $14 a ton turns into $1.4 billion. That's the whole trick of the top. The fortune was never in the rock, it was in owning the scale. You sit across the table from an operator now, and he listens, because a clean record on your sections is worth real money to him. You ran clean mines for years, so the company keeps handing you bigger ones. And the bill the body runs up never lands on this desk. A retired miner with black lung draws about $773 a month. The Federal Mine Health Surveillance Program found black lung in more than 10% of miners, with 25 years underground, and 20.6% in Central Appalachia. Robert Murray built the largest privately owned coal company in the country and fought the dust rules in court for years. At 80, on oxygen and near death, he filed for black lung benefits himself. And 29 miners died at Upper Big Branch on April 5, 2010, after the company stacked up hundreds of safety violations. The chief executive went to prison for it. You stop counting tons and start counting the crew that goes home. That's the difference between the chair you don't sit in and the one you earned. Final beat. Go back to the bag of charcoal. The same black rock you banked into a backyard fire for about $8 to $10 is the rock that lit a county and built $1 billion fortune. You didn't get the fortune. You got something the operators couldn't buy with it, the section you can read in your sleep. The work is the same as it was on day one. You are not. The Energy Information Administration counted production down 11.3% in a single year, and the mines dropped from 560 to 524. Fewer mines, bigger machines, fewer red hats, but the seams still being cut need someone who can read a roof, and that someone is you. Some of the men you started with never made it to the office chair, a roof that didn't hold, a slow breath that never came back. You carry their names in the same exam book you sign, clean every shift. This morning, a kid shows up for his first shift. You hand him a red hat. He can't read the section yet. You can read it in the dark. Somewhere behind him, another kid is banking a backyard fire on a bag of charcoal, learning the word for heat that came out of the ground. He'll know the word portal before the word paycheck. The red hat's on the kid's head now, and you walk him to the cage yourself.